Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate you joining us today for our webinar on our new and updated online ordering portal from Nexpart and the Pronto network. I'm joined today by Jeff Manning and Tom Frey from the network. Jeff is going to walk us through the new enhancements, if you will, to the program. Many of you are currently using a Nexpart portal that we've been providing for a year and a half now, something like that. But certainly with our partnership now, we have a lot of enhancements that we can offer you, and things that Pronto was not previously doing that we'll now have an ability to do through our partnership with the network. So now with that, Jeff, I will turn it over to you and let you take off and show everybody what's going on. Up in the top right-hand corner, Jeff, there you go.
All right, thanks, Robert. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you all the new features that will soon be available to all Pronto Automotive Distribution Network members within WebShop. I am Jeff Manning and the Senior Project Manager for e-commerce. Today I'll be focused, of course, on WebShop. As we go through today's presentation, I think Robert prefaced the question section of the application for the screen share. Please focus your chat questions there, and then we'll address them towards the end of the presentation. Let's go ahead and get started then. We're going to kick it off by talking about the shop supplies catalog. And so within WebShop, under the catalog dropdown, we have a shop supplies catalog. This catalog is managed by headquarters, the content, and the brands. And it's organized by product type or by brand in alphabetic order. There's a couple of things that most users, these are customers, users that would use the program. A lot of times they simply type in what they want in the search bar, the smart search feature here, and click search. When they do that, they'll return anything that meets that criteria, regardless of product type or brand, which gives you access to a smart page. This smart page gives you a bigger view of the image, of course, which you can enlarge it even further. And it gives you the description, the features and descriptions of that particular item. For any item within the shop supplies catalog, I can change my quantity, and I can add to cart with the add to cart button here if there is parts available. So I search by a kind of a description or a part type. I'm now going to show you to search by a particular part number. So if you're familiar, if your customers are familiar with part numbers, they can simply key that in. And again, all the details and images available will show up, allowing them to put it in the, if there's available, it'll show a quantity and you'll be able to throw it in their cart. Now, to get started with shop supplies catalog, there is a data feed required and a shop supply specific DCF that must be set up and maintained. Next up is going to be our tool and equipment catalog. And again, from the catalog drop-down main menu item here at the toolbar, come over to Tools and Equipment Catalog. And what you see displayed on your screen is our Tools and Equipment Catalog, which you can flip through page by page. Or if you look over here on the left-hand nav bar, you've got the opportunity to zoom in on the catalog. Of course, you can cancel that zoom. You can look at a page overview, allowing you to kind of scroll through the pages and find the one you're looking for maybe a little bit more quickly. You could, if you choose, to download the PDF of this catalog. You could also print the catalog. And then probably the most featured component of the tools on the left and the way that this catalog is used is with the search bar. So for instance, if I, let's say I wanted to find some kind of a lift, I could type in the word lift, and anything with lift in the description would show up. When I click on one of those items, it takes me directly to that page. Let's say I go in here and maybe this time I'm looking up a helmet for welding. It finds one page with a bunch of helmets on it, and I find the helmet that I'm looking for. I can simply click on the part number, and what it does is it transfers that part number to the stock check screen. Make sure you choose the right description, and it shows the pricing and the location or availability of that particular item. So with the tool and equipment catalog, you have to maintain your DCF just like you do with anything within WebShop or a Nexpart site. And then we will also regularly make available on the Pronto extranet pricing and part numbers for the tools and equipment catalog. That you can simply download and upload into your warehouse management system or point of sale system, whatever you call it. All right, next up is our OE interchange, and I am going to swap sites here to be able to demonstrate that more effectively. So bear with me one moment. All right. So inside of our stock check screen, we have the capacity to type in an OE part number, and WebShop is smart enough to do an interchange and present those alternate numbers on the screen that are part of your inventory. So if I come into the stock check screen, get into this item field and type in a number, let's say 30520E8, and hit stock check, what the system is doing is looking at an index file of your inventory, and it's going to do the interchanges and present what's available on screen. Now, after it does the interchange math, it figures out, it does a live stock check showing what's available. Now, one additional feature of the OE interchange is that I don't have to start over every time I want to add a number. So if I like these numbers, but I want to see anything that may line up with another OE number, I can simply add another OE number here in the next field down. Hit stock check, and it will provide the results for the second OE part number and maintain the first OE number results as well. And again, from here, if I wanted to purchase the part as a customer, I could check on the box, click on add to order, and then it would throw it up into my shopping cart in the top right-hand corner of the screen. So how to set up the OE interchange? It does require a data feed, which indexes the inventory to make the site move a little bit more efficiently. So I've mentioned a data feed a couple of times. That's really the only thing you need to do is get that data feed established. So I've mentioned the data feed a couple of times now, and I'd like to pause for just a second and invite Tom maybe to speak on a little bit broader basis on the options available to you regarding that data feed.
Sure, thanks, Jeff. And Jeff already mentioned the why. That we initiated these programs and we're doing real-time inventory check, and it just bogged down. It was too slow. So behind the OE interchange search and the non-app shop supplies catalog is actually a table, an index table by member with their daily inventory in it, and that gives us a much quicker response. So the way most of our members are getting that information to us is through Net and Tel, which is our Epicor data warehouse. We are working on, combining our efforts on data warehouse. So many of you are already on the Pronto version of the Epicor data warehouse. If you are and you want to enable these features, just let us know and we'll copy over the script to generate the inventory feed from your data warehouse and get it to WHI. The other commonly used method is eBay Link. Any member who is using the eBay Link tool is providing a data feed to WHI to drive that, and we could repurpose that data to drive these tools as well. So worst case scenario, you're not delivering any inventory data to WHI. Let us know that too, and we'll work with you directly on the best way to implement that. All right, Jeff, back over to you.
All right, thanks, Tom. I appreciate that. Let's get moving. The next subject we're going to talk about is VIN lookup, plate to VIN rather. Also look at sponsored promotion. So bear with me a second as I switch accounts once again. All right. So when we come into the catalog, I've got a couple of features for plate to vent. I have this icon in the bottom left, which allows me to click on it, and from there I can choose the state and enter the plate. But more commonly used within WebShop is our smart search bar at the top of the screen. And to do this, I can simply type in the abbreviation for the state, and then the license plate, which is DN7N196. Click on search. It finds that it's a 2012 Toyota Camry. It reinserts itself into the smart bar, and from here, I can type in a part type that I want. It helps if I spell it properly. There we go. Click on search, and it takes me to the segment of the catalog that contains ignition coils for that year, make, and model. A couple of other things to take note while we're here. We do have a sponsored promotions feature within WebShop, and you'll see those promotion banners flying both at the header in this space and then within catalog where those items are part of a particular promotion. A bit more on sponsored promotions in a moment, but I wanted you to notice that those are in those 3 locations. The next thing you can do, you can come back in here, clear out your search bar. You can also freehand, abbreviate and freehand the vehicle you want to put together, and it automatically starts to pre-populate and give you the options that are available. So in this case, I'm looking up a 2011 Chevrolet Silverado with a 5.3 V8. And from here, if I wanted to look up a particular part type, again, just type in starter motor, click search, and I'm going to be taken to the segment of the catalog that contains those items for that particular year, make, and model. Now, sponsored promotions, we're going to circle back around and talk about that for a second. I can put my mouse over the banner here. It really doesn't do a whole lot, but if I put my mouse down here, a little pop-up segment pulls up and tells me a little bit more details about that particular promotion. But this promotion icon is cycling. It's going to turn every few seconds based on the number of promotions that you have. If I get down inside the catalog itself, the promotion is going to be static because it relates directly to that particular item. And if I hover my mouse over it, a little flyout window again will pop up, giving me an opportunity to review that particular promotion. Now, one last thing on sponsored promotions, 2 more things, a few more on sponsored promotions. I have a promotions tab at the top of the screen. If I click on that, that's going to take me to my promotions dashboard, which kind of gives you a Groupon look at promotions that are active on any particular one WebShop site. So for instance, this distributor has chosen to participate in these promotions. A couple of things to think about with regards to promotions for sponsored promotions. They are fully funded by the manufacturer for our nationwide promotions. They are managed by by Pronto Network headquarters, and then rewards are sent directly to the distributor so that you can hand them out to your customers and thank them for the business. All right, that's it on sponsored promotions and plate to VIN. Let me back out of this and get into yet one more account, and I want to show you a program called Source It. All right. So Source It's not necessarily new to Nexpart or WHI, but it is a feature that we have enabled within WebShop. It is enabled on a site-by-site basis, so if you're interested in this, it'll be something that we'll need to follow up on. But what Source It does, it allows your buyers or your counter salespeople as a distributor to resource parts that you may not have as a part of your inventory. And I can do that by a couple of different ways. I can do a multiple seller part search, which allows me to come in here, type in a particular part number. So let's look at an LM11949. I'm going to click stock check. Now, if that number is used across multiple brands, I need to choose the brand that I'm looking for. In this case, it's Timken, and then the part type. And what this is doing in the background, it is looking at all the suppliers that you have access to today that are on a Nexpart platform, regardless of the flavor, whether it's WebShop, Connection, Nexpart, and it's looking at their inventory, okay, and uses your credentials that you have access all in one place. So in this instance, I've resulted with, let's say TPH has it, Union, Smythe, Undercar Plus. So it allows your counter people to go in and say, yes, I have that part, I can get it for you. I can change my quantity and I can add my cart right from here and purchase the part. That'll send a pick ticket and the order to the parts house. Now, I can also add additional part searches. So while it maintains my initial search, the secondary search 57060, I'll hit stock check. It'll retain my original search and add below the next search. So in this case, I'm looking up a Wix and an engine oil filter. The time that it takes to return results is strictly dependent upon the number of suppliers that you are tied to. So keep that in mind. In this case, when I've got my information from the Timken search and now I've got my information from the Wix search. So from this screen, I can add parts from the Timken search into my shopping cart. I can also add parts from my Wix search into the shopping cart, and I go to my checkout screen and I can purchase both at the same time. They will go independently to the supplier for each of the part types. An alternate way of doing a search is by going to the single vendor search. So if I wanted to go to, let's say, the parts house, and I wanted to look up a 41-03, see if they had that so that I could buy it and provide it to my customer. I'm looking for the Anco wiper arm. I simply key in the part number. There it is. And again, from here I can add to order by checking the box, clicking add to order, and it would show up in my cart for me to purchase when I'm ready. I can continue to add additional numbers here as well and click stock check. In this case, we're looking for a Walker clamp. There it is. Same thing, check on the box, add to order, and it shows up in your shopping cart. So how do we set up Source It? It does require a sales order, and there is a monthly support fee, a down payment and a monthly support fee to add this program to your web shop. Once we get the sales order completed, what we do is we send out a survey for you to complete. That survey would allow you to choose which suppliers you are currently connected to, provide us the username and password for those accounts. We then take those username and passwords and set them up in Source It. So as soon as we make that switch, those username and passwords don't log in on an individual basis to those suppliers anymore. They are used by Source It to log into all of the suppliers at the same time, as I just showed you. Beyond that, you're allowed to sequence or order on the screen how you want those suppliers to show up. So if you have a supplier you do 50% of your purchases from, they can be listed first, and then maybe if you have 3 other suppliers that the other 50% is spread across, they can be listed in whatever order you choose. We will, once we get the survey back, we work with WHI and headquarters, and we get you all configured and set up, and we return a new username and password for you so that you can use that username and password to log into Source It to do your purchasing. And again, just to kind of reiterate, Source It, when you're looking for suppliers to buy from and Source It, as long as they're on a Nexpart platform, regardless of the name of the platform, as long as it's a Nexpart-based platform, it will work. All right, so I'm going to step out of this distributor's site, and I'm going to go into another distributor's site, and we're going to talk about Elite Extra. We have an integration with Elite Extra, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate for you here shortly. Let's see. All right, so with Elite Extra, which is a delivery tracking software, what we do is we have an integration that allows you to see the customer's next delivery time. So this is, again, the customer logging into WebShop, your customer logging into WebShop. They can see their next delivery time is for San Fernando. It's around 12 p.m. And I can also click on my View Order History. And the View Order History is going to show me my most recent orders. These 2 are en route. I can see the date that it was created, the invoice number, the purchase order number, if your customer keyed it in, the status and the arrival time, and whether it was or not. If it's already been delivered and I want to check back on it, look back on it for any reason, I could click on the delivered link. And what the site's going to do is download a PDF. And if you have signature as a feature with Elite Extra, with your program with Elite Extra, then it will show the signature capture on the document here showing that you did sign for receipt of those items. So how to set up for Elite Extra? You'll need an agreement with Elite Extra first. Once you've done that, we send you a WebShop sales order for the support fees, which are monthly. It's $19 per WD location per month. And then we get Elite Extra and WHI to work together to get it enabled on your site. It's fairly simple. All right, next up, we're going to look at IP security. So for that, we're going to migrate to the PowerPoint. So device authentication and IP security tracking. This originally was set up to prevent competitive distributors, salespeople, from getting access to your inventory and your pricing through your customers' credentials for WebShop. What we've done here is it tracks by IP address. And so when you roll this program out, you must notify your customer. I would recommend notifying your customers that it's coming, enhancing security. After you activate it, what they'll do is when they log in for the first time, they'll be presented with this screen. Again, that's after you activate this particular IP security tracking feature. They will be asked to confirm their email address and or their mobile carrier and phone number. And then they can choose a preferred contact method as well. Once they've done that, they will hit submit, and they will automatically be logged into WebShop under their account. What the system does on the back end is it captures that IP address and stores it. And it says anytime this username and password is used with this IP address, we're going to allow it to pass through successfully. If I take that same username and password and go to a different computer with a different IP address or a different location, let's say you take your credentials home with you or you take your credentials to another location, and I try to log in, if that IP address is different, I'm going to get challenged. I'm going to get an email or I'm going to get a text, and I'm going to need to key in the code that's provided in that email or text in a screen similar to this, and I click submit. As long as that code matches what was sent from WebShop to your customer, then it's going to capture that new IP address and say, hey, this is a safe identifiable IP address. We match it with the username and password. If it doesn't match, they won't be allowed in. If the code doesn't match, then it'll reject them. The next section is the reporting side of IP security tracking. And this is a couple screen grabs from an environment we used when we originally set it up. But what it allows you to do is put in a date range, and then you can see the accounts that log in, the username that logged in, the IP address that they logged in from, their order totals, the number of orders, which catalog they were in, how many part number stock checks they've done, and the total stock checks. And as you can see, this third row down is this Expert Auto Service has 0 purchases, but 254 part number stock checks. That would be an indicator to me if I were a distributor and I had this feature enabled to say, hey, let's go have a conversation with the customer and see if they've shared their password, or let's go see if they're really looking to do business. I might also want to reference my point of sale system, my warehouse management system, to see if maybe they're looking everything up on WebShop, but they're actually purchasing the part, by calling in their orders. So you want to make sure that you're not, concerned about a customer that's actually doing the business with you. To get this set up, again, it's a matter of triggering it on your admin in WebShop. But then, as I caution, I would highly recommend we kind of talk through the process so that you are preparing to prepare your customers so that they're not faced with something they're not anticipating when they move forward with this particular feature. I think that's it. At this point, I think we'd like to kind of maybe entertain questions, see if we can come up with some answers for you.
A couple of things, Jeff. First of all, just a general statement is that all of these enhancements or new features that that we just went through are going to be active or can be activated on March the 4th, right? So you're getting a preview, if you will, this week, but March the 4th, which I believe is next Thursday, is when those enhancements will be added to your existing sites, assuming that you're on the, one of the Pronto sponsored sites or the network sponsored sites. There's a few members that we have that are using AC Delco's connection. Is that what they would call it now?
That's correct.
And that those enhancements don't apply to that, right? That's not part of our program, but it does apply if you're using the Pronto skinned version. I don't know if we have any federated members on the webinar, if you're using the federated skinned version, or obviously any existing network members have already had all this stuff, but they're going to be active on next Thursday. As Jeff said, some of them require some setup on your part, some things that, like we just looked at with the IP security. You don't want to just go flip a switch and turn that on, because your customers are going to get all kind of messages that they're not used to. We want to kind of plan for that and prepare for that, but others will just show up. There was a question about fleet, Jeff, about fleet cross. Is there some fleet programs in there? I know.
I could jump in on that. We had enabled Fleet Cross as a catalog dropdown. So in Jeff's demo, he showed how those work on a couple of items. We don't have a lot of utilization, but it's available if you're subscribed to Fleet Cross, and the members that we have in network side that are doing that through Vipar. We can enable that Fleet Cross application as a catalog option within your WebShop site. And so the customer would jump out to Fleet Cross, do their interchange, get their part number, click a link back, and drop it into Stock Check, like many of the other apps. So that is available. Step one is knowing that you have to have a subscription to Fleet Cross. And then step two is just letting us know, and we enable it with WHI.
Perfect. Yeah. So if you're a member out there that's interested in that feature, just give us a call here at headquarters, and we'll get the ball rolling to get you set up. Couple questions about brands in the shop supplies catalog. How many different brands are available? And then another question was, and certainly when we turn this thing on, basically we're duplicating the catalog that the network had. So certainly I recognize that there's some Pronto brands and there's some other brands that we're going to have to add to that catalog, and that's a project that we'll undertake. But step one was to get the catalog turned on for you so that you could, as of next week, start using the shop supplies catalog. But is there any, can you shed any light on that, Jeff or Tom, as far as the brands and how many part numbers are available, what types of things are in there?
Sure. Hey, Jeff, can you give the visual back?
Yep, absolutely. Give me a second.
So Jeff is going to share the brand list. There are 162 active brands, and it's about 97,000, 98,000 SKUs. So, you and I had talked about this, Robert. We don't limit that to network approved lines because it's a lot of chemicals, commodities, tools and such. So what we offer is, we had members that had their own My Items catalog, and they said this is silly to manage it multiple times. So there, Jeff is displaying the list of brands that are in the catalog today. So the way this works is within your WHI, your Nexpart DCF, it's just like line code mapping for anything else. You're going to enable the brands that you want to enable and show on your site. So this is the list of brands that are available today. If you have a brand that you're doing your own My Item site and you say, man, I don't want the work, we could take that file, add it to the Pronto Network shop supplies data and enable it, and then add that brand. That goes pretty quick. And then the worst case is a brand that we don't have the data for. We have to start from scratch. We just need awareness of it. We'll get with that supplier, and our content team will get it added. But it's a pretty extensive list. We've been at this for better part of 6-7 years now. So yeah, I expect that most things other than a private label that are out there will be enabled for you already.
One key thing to remember about shop supplies is that we list these items with the original part numbers. So if you've taken a brand and changed the part number in any way, it won't make the connection. So you'll need to make sure that your systems maintain the original part numbers as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. We had folks that would put a prefix on a part number to identify the distributor they buy it from. And that's a no-no. It's got to be pure brand, pure line, in order for it to get a branded part number match.
Sure. Just like any other catalog lookup, right? It's got to match. All right. Are there any other questions out there? Again, there's a questions box over on your right-hand side. You can type in any questions. There's a chat feature. There's also an ability for you to raise your hand if you have a question, and we can unmute you. Everybody's muted right now. We can unmute you if you have any other questions.
And while you're waiting for that, Jeff, can you back into Source It?
Yep.
What do you do if you don't know what brand your partner distributor carries?
Hold on, I'm trying to do too many things at once.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. So you do have the option to just strictly look it up by year, make, and model. So you don't have to necessarily filter by brand.
And of course, the site will be slow when you're, there you go.
There we go. Oops, let's do a. So I can just do a traditional, year, make, model lookup, go in through category. If I wanted to do it by a parts search, I could do it here. The part description does matter. So you might find that depending on the way that each of your suppliers has set up their DCF, you might get different results.
So Neil, are you out there?
I am. Sorry. I just thought I'd interject. There is an enhancement coming. We discussed it with the most recent release on 2/18 that just went in last week. But there's a small addendum to that, which is going to allow for an all/other. I'm not sure what we're going to call it, but it's basically going to allow for that exact scenario where if you don't know the brand, you can select all, and it's just going to return, any matching part number. Now, that may require a choose part, where that part on a particular vendor exists in multiple line codes, but it will also open up the door for anybody that also deals with heavy duty dealers, i.e. Kenworth, Peterbilt, Mack, Volvo International, any of our connected sites that don't really have a integrated catalog. Those part numbers will be available for order via Source It as well once that enhancement goes through in the next coming weeks.
Okay.
Great. So that's another feature that's coming. That's not yet available, but sounds like a nice enhancement on the way.
Yep. I just wanted Jeff to illustrate you can actually look up an item through the catalog, interchange tools, look up all those tools and get a result and see what your partner distributors have in stock. You don't have to know the part number. You can just do a lookup. Now this does take a while for us because we're using this in the fulfillment side of the business, and so we have quite a few distributors loaded up. Typically, you may have 3, 2 or 3 of your local WDs, and it runs a little quicker. But there you go. Thanks, Jeff.
Excellent. All right. I don't see any other questions out there right now. I'm sure that if anybody has any, you know that you can give us a call here at headquarters and we'll get you the information. Like I said, you'll start to notice these enhancements next week. I think on, like I said, on the 4th, on Thursday, you'll start to see all this stuff. And certainly if you need more information or you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We're anxious to get these upgrades out to you as quickly as we can so that you can begin taking advantage of them and your customers can begin taking advantage of them. So thank you to Jeff and Tom, and certainly thank you to everybody for attending, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.